Now that you understand how while loops work, let's look at a technique called counter-controlled repetition. This technique uses a variable called a counter or control variable to control the number of times the while loop will execute. Counter-controlled repetition is often called definite repetition because the number of repetitions that is going to be performed is known before the loop begins executing. We've already set it up in our condition a set number of times to execute. So in this example, I've created a couple of variables. We have a total and a counter and a value. So my expression condition is while the counter is less than or equal to 10, I'm going to prompt the user for a number, read in that number from the console, convert it to an integer, and place it in the value variable. I'm then going to add the value and the total together and place them back into the total variable so I get a running total. And I'm going to increment the counter, which at some point, which we know how many iterations we will perform, this statement will become false and the while loop will exit. Once the while loop exits, it will come down here and print the current value of the total. So when we run our application, we see enter a number, and I can walk through this for each iteration of the loop until I get to the end. Using counter-controlled repetition allows us to do the same number of tasks repeatedly using the while loop. You can set your condition up to have as many loops as you need, but you do need to remember to control this counter variable so that at some point, whenever you need the number of repetitions to end, the counter condition will become false. So when setting up counter-controlled repetition, you not only need to know how many times the loop will execute, but how you're going to control that value. This is also a great method, as I've used in the example, when you have a number of items you need to collect from the user or read in from a file or other location. If you know the definite amount of items that you will be handling, you can use this method of counter-controlled repetition to continuously ask the user or prompt for the information needed.